What's up YouTube? In this video I'm going to show you how to build a custom intake for your R56 Mini Cooper S with an N14 engine. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and stick around. You're going to want to watch this whole video. No matter which Mini Cooper you drive, check out my Facebook group. It's called Mini Cooper DIY. I'll put a link to that in the description, or you can just go to Facebook and type Mini Cooper DIY in the search bar and you can find it that way. Let's get to the video. Okay, I'm going to put links in the description to every one of these parts that you're going to need. First, what you're going to need your stock MAF, obviously. You're going to need a cone filter. You're going to need an aluminum connector pipe, joiner pipe. You're going to need an elbow. And you're going to need a coupler that has this bung for a blow-off valve. I'm using it. This is my PCV heater. I already took it off the stock intake, put it on here. It's not easy to take back out. I've actually been driving this intake for about a week. I'm just doing this video to show you guys how to, I took it apart to show you guys how to build it. But yeah, that's how it goes in. Okay, so the first step, you're gonna get one of these intake elbows. This is the one I use. And you're gonna have to cut the end of it off so that it fits, and I'll show you where it goes. Okay, in your engine bay, if you don't cut the end of this off, this part right here hits. It still hits a little bit, even after you cut it, but it fits a lot better, and this moves around. But the intake temperatures are good and everything's done. I'll talk about it more once I get it together, but you're going to want to cut that to where it doesn't hit your reservoir, whatever reservoir you're using. I'll actually measure this right now and tell you how long mine is, but I don't know if yours is going to be the same. Alright, so as you can see, that where mine's cut out to the outside edge of it is 5 inches. If you go maybe a 1/4 inch shorter than that, it'll probably fit a little bit better. Actually, I think 5 inches is probably perfect, at least if you have the JMTC S42 turbo. That's the turbo I'm running. This intake that I'm showing you, I'm going to show you, it's going to work with your stock turbo or with the JCW turbo, or an aftermarket turbo. That has a 2-inch outlet right here, or inlet. Okay, the way I cut this, since I cut it before, what I did was I just squeezed it tightly like that, and I just cut it with this knife. It's just a regular pocket knife. It's a Kershaw sharp, but any type of knife, doesn't have to be one of these. But just fold it like that. If you're even using scissors, it'll cut pretty straight. But that's just the way I did it. Okay, once you have this cut, you're gonna take your joiner pipe and just slide it inside of it. The silicone is 4-ply, so it's not real bendable. It's really strong, and even when you run a big amounts of boost, once you mod your car a lot more than I have, this intake is gonna hold up. Just get that on there. Then you just go to Home Depot for your hose clamps, or wherever you get your hose clamps. I was going to put a link to hose clamps in the description, but you probably want your hose clamps to match whatever you have in your car, so just go buy them wherever you buy them. They're not expensive. You could wait to put the hose clamps on if you want, but I'm just going to get mine a little bit snug right now, just so I don't forget later. But next step, first, get another hose clamp. Gotta put that one on before you put this. But slide this over top the coupler. Not the coupler, but the joiner pipe. And you're gonna push those together until they're touching. So you're not going to be able to see that aluminum pipe at all, but it's going to be basically a hard pipe in there with 4-ply silicone hose that's reinforced around it. Okay, so the angle that you're going to want to put this part right here compared to this part is going to look about like that. It's a little bit more than 45, or a little bit less, depending on what you're looking at. Yeah. So just put it on about like that. you're just gonna have to test fit it once you put it on your car, because what happens, I'll show you exactly what happens right now. Okay, if you're not running a catch can, you just need to make it so that this hose, wherever you're gonna have to cut this to the right length, so it's just gonna go right into your PVC port. So this angle that I'm at right now will probably work for that, but I'm running a catch can, so that is actually gonna connect to this hose right here, which is gonna run underneath and then come to the inlet of my, or the outlet of my catch can, and then the inlet of my catch can will run right there. But if you're not running a catch can, this tube right here will just go straight to your PVC, and this reaches no problem. And then also your MAF will reach no problem too, because it's almost in the OEM location. On a side note, if you don't have enough hose clamps to run these two, you don't need them. I just have them on here. I'm running 22 PSI a boost. Actually, I'm running 23.5. I try to dial it down. We'll see what I'm running on Monday when I go to work. But this doesn't leak at all, even without the hose clamps, because I wasn't running them at first. If you follow me on Instagram, you see me that I posted a picture of this before I figured out how to do the catch cans. I didn't have these hose clamps on it. And it ran fine. If you don't want to go buy the hose clamps, like I was saying, you don't want to buy this third one that matches, your OEM hose clamp, if you loosen it all the way, the one that goes right before your mass airflow sensor, it'll actually fit on there. In fact, that's what I was using. But I went and bought these three just so they'll match. So you put that on before you put your MAF on. Then you grab your mass airflow sensor, and you want it so the side with the screen is facing away from you. It's got an arrow on it. It tells you which way the airflow is. So you're just going to put that on, and then rotate this just whichever way. This is going to fit in your engine bay without hitting anything. I try to make these where the screw holes are, I try to make it level. So when it's in like this, I just rotate it. Let's see if I can get that on there until it looks pretty level. And then I'll tighten it down right there, and that'll fit just fine. Now this hose clamp, you're gonna want to make sure you get it pretty snug. I'm just using a socket, but you're gonna want to get it pretty snug because you're gonna have the weight of the filter on here, so you don't want it to pop off. And if you get it snug, just like I just did, it's not going anywhere. Okay, so the next step, we're gonna put the filter in last while we're putting this in the car. But the next step, it's gonna depend on which turbo you have. If you have an OEM turbo, like you're running, like you have the Cooper S or a JCW, in your inlet tube, your OEM one, you're gonna have this spacer. That spacer fits right inside of here. So you can still use this on your OEM turbo. But when you upgrade to a bigger turbo, like the S42, JMTC S42 that I have, just pull that back out, and this will fit perfectly. Okay, so next we're gonna go ahead and put this in the car. You're gonna get your hose clamp. Again, like I said, if you don't want to buy any hose clamps, you can use your OEM hose clamp here, and you can also use your OEM hose clamp for this part. I don't know where mine is. I think it's on my intake elbow. Okay, so I'll try to angle my camera so you can see what I'm doing. If you're running a catch can, you're going to want to set your catch can up over here. There's already a bolt hole for it. Just bolt it there. And then just slide that through like that. Put your turbo on, or put your inlet on. Don't tighten that yet. Should probably mention, I already had my vacuum line off from when I took this apart. So you don't have to put that on yet, but you can. Okay, so once you have this position to where you want it, if you're not wearing a catch can, or if you're not going to use a catch can, make sure you have this hose. I wouldn't cut this hose until this step, and cut it a little bit too long, and make sure it fits in there, and then just barely shorten it until it's the right length. So now you're going to go ahead and put your filter on. It's going to be a tight fit, so stick that in there. Okay, these filters are actually 3 inches, and your mass airflow sensor is actually 2.75 inches. So it's a loose fit. So don't be surprised when you go to put that on there and it feels like it's not going to fit. Once you tighten it, it actually fits really well. Let me go ahead and get mine tight real quick. Okay, once you have that where you want it, go ahead and make sure everything's lining up good, and make sure this hose is all the way on your turbo, just like you do when you're putting on your OEM box. And go ahead and tighten this hose clamp right here. Okay, now go ahead and plug your sensors in and your vacuum line. Like I said, once this is tight, this fits really good. It doesn't turn, doesn't move. Even if I tested this without the mass airflow sensor in the car, it's sturdy. That's not leaking, doesn't come off, nothing's coming through there. This whole intake is super sturdy. It doesn't even, well, I guess that part can move if you shake it side to side. But in the car, when you're driving, it doesn't move at all. A lot of people like to call these style of intakes hot air intakes. Let me tell you something. I've been monitoring my intakes with my intake temperatures with my scan gauge for, at least 6 or 7 months. With the stock air box, it was, 4 degrees above ambient. And then last week, before I did this intake, I took off the tube that runs through here into the airbox that blows the cold air into the airbox, which makes that a cold air intake. Took that off. There was no change in the ambient temperature or in my intake temperatures. So then I switched to this intake. There's still no change in my intake temperatures. Obviously, I run below ambient when I'm spraying that direct port methanol kit that I got from SpeedTech Motorsports, but other than that, when I'm just under normal driving, under low boost, not low boost, but under 5 pounds of boost, about 4 degrees, just on freeway driving, and that's in same as it was before. It's no difference, and that's what it looks like when it's in the car. I'll go ahead and I'll set up my camera and I'll start the car. It's pretty late at night right now, so I'm not going to do any revving, but you'll hear it suck air when the car starts. I have a Go Fast Spits DV Plus, so mine kind of sounds like a blow-off valve when I'm driving. Now that I have this, it didn't before with the stock air box. It sounds really good. It's going to sound just as good as any aftermarket intake. Other things I like about this is this isn't going to collapse under boost when you're sucking in all this air, because this is hard aluminum, and this is 4-ply reinforced, and this is 4-ply reinforced. There's nothing to collapse. So no matter how much boost you're pushing through your turbo, or pulling through this hose, it's not going to collapse. It's going to work just as good as any aftermarket one, and it's a fraction of the cost of an aftermarket intake. This is going to save a whole bunch of money. well, that's what it sounds like when you start it. I'll get some driving videos in the future, near future, but they don't really do that well on this channel, so I don't do them that many, or do them that often. But you know, with this model, I'll definitely do one just so that you can hear it. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, give it a thumbs down. I'll catch you in the next video.